we ready? Okay, we're going to call this special school board meeting of the Martin County School Board to order. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll call roll. Ms. Pritchett?
Here.
Mr. DiTerlizzi?
Here.
Ms. Russell?
Here?
Ms. Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. DiTerlizzi, a second by Ms. Roberts. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, first up on our agenda, we have the approval to advertise the 23-24 budget. And I'm going to have Carter come on up and talk about a discrepancy that we're trying to work through with what's in the statute. And
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, superintendent, members of the community. During the legislative session, as part of House Bill 1, in committee, what you see before you are behind you.
sorry,
actually.
Carter, can you talk into your microphone, please? One of them.
I'm sorry, thank you. During this previous legislative session, as part of House Bill 1, a change was made to Florida Statute 101171. 101171 controls the authorized uses of capital funds, pretty much known as the 1.5 mil funds. That is the law as it was changed in Florida Law 2023-16. However, when we received our guidance from the Florida Department of Revenue, if you'll notice down here, it says payment of salaries and benefits for school bus drivers. So apparently, when I called the Department of Revenue, they said that they were relying on the Florida Department of Education. When I called the Florida Department of Education, they were relying on a comment that was made by Senator Simon in committee regarding the use of these funds. So apparently at the time, the discussion was centered around the fact that we had several districts had a shortage of bus drivers. So we're trying to come up with a way to find a way to fund the salaries and benefits of bus drivers. However, the language that came out in statute here, payment of salaries and benefits for employees whose job duties support the activities funded by this subsection, makes it much more broader. So for example, your IT engineers, your network engineers, your folks who work in the garage maintaining your buses, they support all the activities that are funded by the 1.5 mil statute. So I reached out to Mr. Black. He was here this morning at the Superintendent Leadership Day. He reached out to legislative staff that work for Senator Simon. Unfortunately, apparently the Senate President is in town today, so there's a lot of activity going on, but we were trying to work to get the clarification that we need. However, in an abundance of caution, what we've gone ahead and done when I spoke to the Department of Revenue, we have used their language that they have given us as the language to use, which is much more narrower, so I do not get a violation on my ad. Just so you are aware that the capital ad, if it does not contain certain activities, we cannot fund it out of the 1.5 mil. In addition, there are penalties that the Florida Department of Revenue can levy against the school district. One being, A, you're limited to levy only the rollback rate for last year. Secondly, they can ask the property tax collector to hold the money once we re-advertise and redo the ad if it came to that. So in an abundance of caution, speaking with the Department of Revenue, they said, go ahead and use this language. This is what we asked you to do. Until we get the clarification that we need through the DOE and through Senator Simons' office. Madam Chair, or Mrs. Powers.
Go ahead.
So we're approving the ad for the capital expenditure of the 1.5
Yes, ma'am.
that we collect. So if we approve the ad that just says school bus drivers, regardless of how it gets corrected, the ad that has gone to the public just says school bus drivers, which means we would only be able to pay school bus drivers out of capital, correct?
That is correct, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way, I know that they're very prescriptive about their ad, is there any way to add language that just says school bus drivers and any authorized by law?
I actually had put the actual law into the ad. However, when speaking to the Department of Revenue on Friday, they advised that go ahead and use the language that we gave you to avoid the potential of a violation.
So that would mean that when you're creating a operational budget and a capital budget, that all of those things that were normally placed in a capital budget, IT positions, et cetera, are now going to next year will have to be in the,
What we would do in this
Operational
instance,
budget.
yes, what we would do in this instance is increase the capital transfer from the capital fund over into the general fund to reimburse for those salaries and benefits.
except if you've only authorized bus drivers in the capital fund,
Yes, ma'am.
you would not be able to transfer money to pay for IT people
That
from
is
the
cor-
capital fund. So let's say you've got
Yeah.
$1 million in salaries for IT people that would normally come out of the capital fund. We would not be able to do that capital transfer to the general fund because it was never authorized in the ad.
That is correct. And just for the record, the IT folks are in the general fund today.
Right.
If the language that was actually enacted in law was interpreted and we received clarification that it's more broader, then those folks who are currently in the general fund and now eligible to be paid out of capital, then we would increase the transfer accordingly.
So the flexibility wasn't there last year, so we did those positions that we could now pay out of capital if we applied the statute as it reads. Not what Department of Revenue said, but the statute, then those positions would be eligible to be funded out of capital, but they have not been funded out of capital, so it should not be a negative impact.
Correct.
If
It's
we get a
just-
clarification, it will actually be a positive
We're-
impact to the general fund.
Yeah, we are seeking the maximum flexibility as the law has been written. However, the Department of Education's response to me was, we have to clarify what the legislative intent was. So that can only come from the legislature.
So even if the legislature says you can do IT and that's fine, because our ad says bus drivers, that
Right.
would be the amount that we would be
Right.
able to do the capital
So,
transfer for.
correct. So we're
Correct?
hoping to get clarification prior to the ad actually going to the TC-POM to make sure that if we get the interpretation accordingly, then we can change the ad, which in the narrative to the board agenda item, we wrote language in there authorizing the superintendent to make the necessary modifications in order to publish the ad in accordance with Florida Statute 200 trim. That's what that language means.
So we're doing the minimum that we have to do to get
Yes,
this.
in order to avoid any issues with the Florida Department of Revenue until we can get that clarification.
Okay.
And when does the ad have to go?
I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, because we were trying to run the ad Saturday or maybe Sunday. So it depends on what because they just opened up ad space. They have a time when they open the slots.
So you're looking for approval for this ad, but including in the motion any clarifying language for that line?
Yes, ma'am.
If we receive,
If we receive-
If we receive it.
receive it before
If
the
we receive
advertising
it
deadline.
In the
Yes,
next
ma'am.
2 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And so Carter, if we get the clarification after, it just means we have to re-advertise.
I would then have to consult with the Department of Revenue on re-advertising, because then it sets off a different motion of events. In statute, the school board has priority in terms of their hearing. No other county or municipality can have their hearing on the same day that the school board is having our hearing. So, which would mean a couple things. We could postpone the hearing and reschedule. We could have the hearing and then recess for another, there's a lot of things that can take place in the interim. If we do get the clarification after the ad has gone out. But Mrs. Roberts is absolutely correct. that once you advertise as is, that's the
Right.
only thing that you can do. But if we do get clarification prior, which would be the perfect thing, then we would change the language, knowing that we have board approval to do so. If we get it afterwards, then I'd have to consult with the Department of Revenue, which I think 67 of us, all school districts, would then have to go through that process.
And it would reset the calendar, is what it would do.
Right.
Okay, so do you need a motion?
So I just have one quick question. For the approval of the advertisement, do we have to do it today? Can we wait?
In the statute, it does talk about being on the 24th day, because you count from July 1, we have to do this. We have to, there's a trim calendar that prescribes the number of days. We literally have to count calendar days, and the 24th is the first step in that calendar. So yes, you do have to do it today.
All right, here we go. Do I have a motion?
I move approval for the advertising with the additional language to authorize the superintendent to change the salary line if allowed by DOE.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Roberts, a second by Ms. Pritchett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 3.02 is a request to approve the purchase order for instructional empowerment. Any questions? I have a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Roberts, a second by Ms. Pritchett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, we had the first review of the school board policy, the student code of conduct. And I know that we have, I think we should probably hear public comment first. It looks like everybody, I'm just looking at all the, everybody is here to talk about the dress code. So let's go ahead and take public comment before we start our discussion. Citizen input is vital to the improvement of our district. Most times your remarks may be listened to without consent from board members, comment from board members or superintendent. This does not mean they are heard with any less intensity or concern. Where appropriate, the superintendent and staff will investigate your comments and report back to you and the board with an answer. We thank you for taking the time and having the concern to make our district better. Your presentation to the board should not exceed 3 minutes. First up is Robin Becker. Aye.
Hi, I'm Robin Becker Ide. I live in Jensen Beach.
Robin,
I'm
microphone.
a 9,
Microphone?
Yeah,
this way.
yeah, there you go.
I'm a 9/11 survivor from Washington DC in January 6th. I have been to several of these board meetings, and I understand your problems with legislation and everything, but I am going to make a very general comment. Is basically, I'm alarmed at the direction of the school board in the state of Florida. You're taking the joy out of teaching away from teachers. You've been compliant with taking the ability of teachers to teach, such as banning books, rewriting, or ignoring history. You are eliminating teaching, life skills, and decision-making based on facts, and I emphasize the word facts. The school board is a group of educators and should strongly stand up for the rights to educate children, not condition them to a narrow world. The board should know better not to bend to groups of parents denying knowledge and truth to reflect their personal values. Ignorance breeds ignorance. The code of conduct as proposed, which I read last night, it's scary. I read certain sections, and it's more like a sentencing or a charging document in a criminal court. And if I was a parent of a school-age child, I'd be tempted to move my kids out of this state or the public school system. I question, will every parent be asked to acknowledge the receipt and the compliance with the code of conduct? And when will the parents be held accountable for their own child's actions? Instead of banning books, they should have knowledge of what their actions are that are right or wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jill Richardson.
Hello, my name is Jill Richardson. I have 2 daughters that attend Jensen Beach High School. Both are athletes and great students, and I see your Jensen Beach Volleyball State Championship up there. My daughter's the setter for that team, so that's pretty cool. I'm here today to ask that the school board take time to review their dress code policy for the 2023-2024 school year, specifically to allow girls the freedom to wear shorts and leggings. I notice we have some female students here to also encourage a review, but no boys. My guess is because the guys have a lot more leniency and are comfortable in what they are allowed to wear. It's the girls who have more restrictions. I'm sure you have all noticed how hot it is outside, and I don't know about you, but I would not want to wear sweatpants or jeans to school or work on these hot days, and that is what most high school girls are having to wear. That's what my girls wear to school, and it's hot and uncomfortable for them. Today I have on these shorts, and after reviewing the current policies, I was surprised to realize that these wouldn't be allowed for the girls to wear, that they're too short. But yet, I'm like, well, I think they look good, and I'm totally covered. But I kind of like got out my tape measure, and I'm like, oh wow, those would not be allowed. So I was surprised about that. Let's see, you don't want the girls to wear super short shorts, and I totally agree with that. But your policy is asking them to purchase and wear shorts that would be next to impossible for them to find in the stores with the current fashion trend. What I'm asking is that you modify the dress code to find a practical compromise. It is said by many students that the guys wear shorter shorts than the girls with no issues. But when a girl shows up in shorts, staff practically breaks out the tape measure. Why is that? And of course, I'm just, not literally, but that's how the girls feel, that they're looked at more strictly than the guys are. And my favorite, my main inspiration for coming today is to ask you to allow the girls to wear leggings. Your current policy states no skin-tight clothing, but today's jeans are tight and fitted. The difference is that jeans are heavier, hotter, and have an uncomfortable zipper and buttons. Personally, I would not want to sit in a pair of jeans all day long in school. Studies show that we all do better at work when we are dressed comfortably. Wearing jeans is not comfortable for the majority of students that have to wear them to school each day. At my daughter's school, flare leggings are allowed, but not traditional leggings. The fit is exactly the same, except for at the bottom, the flare leggings flare out at the ankles. I don't quite understand why one is allowed and one isn't, but okay. Students in high school are mature enough to take college classes. Why can't we allow them to be mature enough to wear appropriate length shorts and leggings, which will be their wardrobe probably 99% of the time once they start attending college? So on behalf of a lot of parents and a lot of students, please take the time to reevaluate the current dress code where girls are concerned. Thank you.
Grace is next. If you could pronounce your last name, and then Sarah Shoppy is next.
Okay. Hi, my name is Grace Phonetic, and I currently attend Jensen Beach High School, where I'm going to be a rising senior. I have a 4.0 GPA, and I've taken the most rigorous courses in my school that is offered. I'm also NHS president this year, so I would like to voice my opinion of the dress code. So my opinion is that I feel as leggings should be allowed because they are comfortable and they make it a safer and easier environment to learn. So they are only inappropriate to people that are making them inappropriate. Leggings are not distracting in any way, but for some reason they are interpreted like that by the administrators and the boys in our school. We just want to learn as girls, and we want to be comfortable when we're learning. Leggings are the exact same thing as skinny jeans, but for some reason leggings are not allowed in school dress code and skinny jeans are. I don't understand why we can't wear leggings. And jeans are also a lot harder to find because all the jeans that are offered in stores have rips, which are not allowed in our dress code at Jensen Beach High School. So when we go to the store to try and find them, they're all ripped jeans, and none of them have jeans without holes in them. So leggings are a lot easier to find. They are offered in many stores, like Lululemon and multiple other stores where they're also cheaper. And this is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Shoppy.
Hi, I'm Sarah Shoppy, and I'm also a rising senior at Jensen Beach High School, so I will be speaking on the case of leggings. So something I've recently been considering and found a lot going from a freshman to a senior is your bodies change a ton. Coming in from 8th grade, I've had these leggings since probably 8th grade, and they're a little worn out, but they have fitted me the entire way, all now I'm going to be a senior, so about 4.5 years. But I've had to buy a new pair of jeans almost every single year. And then I want to also sometimes, now that the dress code, they've been iffy about flare leggings, yoga pants, a lot of the restrictions only putting it on jeans. I've had to buy approximately like 2 pairs of jeans just so maybe if I can't wash one the next day, I have it the next day. So I just wanted to bring up this statistic that I found. So in 2018, the average price of a pair of women's jeans was $165, whereas leggings, which you can wear for all 4 years of high school, are way more affordable, averaging around $50. But on Amazon, you can definitely find them for $20. So then if we're looking at that, freshman year, I probably spent $350 on jeans, whereas if I just had 1 pair of leggings or 2, that's $100 for your entire senior year. Also, when you bring up the term distracting, which I completely get in some cases if women are going to wear really revealing and tight shirts and then tight leggings, even though I think we've come to a day and age where it's really just about being confident in who you are as a person and feeling comfortable in the classroom. But if like I wear a long shirt, you can't see anything and it completely covers like the back of my pants and everything, so I don't understand the term distracting in that matter. But moving forward, I think just looking at it from a comfortability standpoint and also from a financial standpoint, leggings just make a lot more sense all around. There was also a study done by the University of California where they found that people in the workplace, when they are more comfortable, they actually perform better and felt a lot more comfortable and came up with more ideas because they weren't worried about what they were dressing. Also from wearing leggings, since it's such a hot environment, just having that, being able to have them breathable, like Lululemon offers workout leggings that you, like my mom will play tennis in leggings and I always wonder why, and she's like, they're so breathable. So just being able to be outside all the time when it's like 100 degrees in August, like I am dreading the back to school shopping and having to potentially look for new pairs of jeans that again are gonna cost a lot more than just having leggings. So moving forward, just taking that into consideration. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madeline Shoppy?
Hi, I'm Madeline Shoppy. I'm a rising junior at Jensen Beach High School. I feel like the main topic that administrators often bring up when giving the classic first day of school dress code presentation is that they do want us to be comfortable in school, but jeans make me uncomfortable. They feel extremely rough and uncomfortable. I oftentimes have to go to the bathroom to fix my jeans because they just don't fit me right, because all bodies are different, and some people it might not fit in the waist, but it fits in the thighs or vice versa. But with leggings, it stretches, it accommodates to your body type, and that's why a lot of people wear them when they get out of school. I also really don't like the fact that the dress code presentation is not drawing attention to a woman's body, but guys wear extremely short shorts, and they oftentimes, most of the time, don't get flagged whatsoever, or maybe just get a little comment by a teacher saying, pull your shorts down a little bit, but with girls, it would be go to the office. I also don't appreciate when I see a guy's underwear walking across the hallway, and maybe a teacher will say, pull up your pants, sir, but with a girl, the minute that I walk through those doors, I'm sent to the dean's office. I also don't understand why we're cutting leggings from the dress code so that men can maybe focus more, but one woman might say that seeing a man's underwear or seeing his entire thigh could be distracting as well. Finally, I think that, if anything, a shirt covering a woman's back of her legs should be allowed, because that would, covering that part of a woman's body, I think might be a compromise for everyone, because you're just seeing that part of a leg. And that's the same part of a leg that would also be shown if you're wearing skinny jeans. And with skinny jeans, you can show your entire legs. It's the same amount of tightness, but it just happens to be allowed. So those are the topics that I think should be brought to your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Purvis?
Hi, good afternoon. I didn't come in here prepared like these ladies did, but I commend them for what they're doing. Because I'm here on behalf of my daughter, Cindel Purvis, and she's going to be at Martin County High School. We're new to the school, and we come from a small private school in Palm Beach Gardens. And I'm going to have to agree with all what these ladies have to say, because, you know, girls should be able to wear at least leggings, because you can't buy jeans without holes. I mean, unless you're gonna be, go to like Eli's Western Wear or some Western store and buy jeans, like regular jeans, and that's even hotter. So, you know, coming from a small school district, a small private school, I mean, and being in a private school from kindergarten to 8th grade, you know, you didn't have a choice. You had uniforms. So, you know, now that she wants to go to a public school and she wants to come to your school, I mean, why can't you give these ladies and all these girls a chance? So, you know, I'm here on behalf of my daughter, so good job, ladies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that concludes public comment. And we'll go on to discussion about our code of conduct. I know one of the things that we talked about was at our last meeting that we had a lot of conversation about was the acknowledgement. So I know one public speaker asked specifically, we do require parents and students to acknowledge receipt of the code of conduct, so that is part of this process. And I know, Jen, you had a couple of changes to the form that we talked about, where parents can opt in and opt out of multiple things. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Main. Last week, we spoke in detail about our transition to preparing more of our emergency contact information and our consents, our annual consents for parents to one comprehensive document. It can either be hard copy or we also make it available to families in the Focus Parent Portal. There was some feedback that the school board gave us during the last meeting that we tried to incorporate all of that feedback and make it really clear for parents what we were trying to accomplish here. You can see on your screen, we've got, and also in front of you, you should have a packet, the emergency contact and parental consent. This is how it would appear on the Focus Parent Portal for families or in hard copy format. It starts out where we're asking them to verify address, kind of like what's traditionally called the yellow card throughout the school district, where you update your emergency contact information, let us know if there's any changes for your family. Once you get through that, it goes on to asking about how you prefer to receive important messages from your child's school, making sure we have all the correct phone numbers on file for the family, email addresses, required notices that were required under state and/or federal law to provide families about homelessness and migrant education programs. Have some questions there that families would be required to complete. And then it goes into the medical information, which would be what we traditionally had on our yellow card, where families would let us know if there was any change to their physician, any medical conditions that they choose to disclose to us, information about healthcare services or medicines that they would like to have dispensed at school, information on that. There's some legislation that passed at the beginning of last school year related to clinic services and any type of minor first aid or medicine dispensing services provided on site. So we have, parents have the opportunity to give authorization for how they would like us to deal with certain situations that may arise. There's also new legislation that we added since the last meeting coming from House Bill 1537, which allows students to possess and use a medication on their person to relieve headaches on school property. They don't have to have a physician's note or prescription if this headache relieving medication is regulated by the United States Food and Drug Administration. So we have that on there. That's from that House bill. All other medications that don't fall into that category, families would have to complete the Form 135 with their physician and have that on file in the clinic to have medicines or anything else dispensed at school. And then we go into the directory information consent form. We tried to clean up the language a little bit and make it very clear for parents how directory information is defined, both at the state and federal levels, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which is federal legislation, defines the directory information. Our school board policy gives specific classifications of information that the Martin County School District considers directory information that aligns with the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. But the important thing that we want families to know is that they can always opt out of sharing this information with anybody. They can opt out of sharing this information with third parties. They can say that they don't mind any of it being shared with anybody. So we tried to make that really clear with the options here. We give a definition of what directory information is from board policy and FERPA. We give some examples of why the school district might use directory information internally, a playbill, like if a child was performing in a theater production. The yearbook is another example, because photos and names, and sometimes if they're in a club or an activity, information about them appears in the yearbook. Graduation programs, honor roll, school websites, school social media accounts, videos that might be produced. Maybe, a news outlet is coming to the school and wants to interview students or for a story they're working on, those types of things. So we tried to give information on that. We gave some information about exemptions that exist under Florida Statute 119 for families that are related to specific categories of employment. It's usually families of first responders, judges, those types of relatives would be exempt from the disclosure of anything, but they would have to provide notice. So we put that in there of how they would provide that notice that they felt they met the exemption. And then it goes into the options that each family could select.
Wait, do you have a question?
I'm sorry.
The piece in our packet is different than this?
Yes. That's what she's telling.
It has been updated. We tried to make red and bold some areas that we thought the language could be stronger and draw more attention to it. So there are some slight changes to what is on the agenda and what's in front of you. Mainly just to make language a little bit clearer and use different coloring and bold font to draw parents' eyes to what we really want to
This
emphasize.
is the document that.
This is the final one, is the
Correct.
one we have in writing, not this one?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it does say here that if a completed form is not received, now granted, this is something that if a parent chooses to complete this online, they will have to make a selection before moving to the next category. It's not something where somebody could accidentally skip checking a box and complete it. They do have to make it, the form will not allow them to proceed further without making a selection. Hard copy, when we don't receive these things, staff does contact families and say, we need your consent on this, we need your consent on that, we haven't received it. But if a family does not choose to disclose, if they're filling out a hard copy and they don't choose to disclose something, we do have language in here that says that we would assume that permissions have been granted to the greatest extent, to the extent permissible by federal and state law. The first option that families can check off is I consent to disclosure of directory information as defined above to the extent permitted under federal and state law. Now, what we've cleaned up in the packet in front of you from what is on the screen is we added in bold and red, this includes third parties, the photo media release section in the yearbook. So this would basically be for a parent that's saying, I consent to my information being disclosed anywhere. If you need to give it to Herf Jones about the yearbook, that's fine. If you want to give it to Katie Studios about senior portraits, that's fine. If you want to use it internally on the school's website, I'm fine with that too. So option one would be kind of a blanket, I authorize the release of it. Option two would be I consent to the disclosure of directory information as defined above only in connection with a school or school district sponsored activity or events to the extent permissible under federal and state law. I did add language in this section in bold and red that says by selecting option two, the information would not be released to third parties. So that's kind of clarifying for families that that would be you giving consent only for district or school use. Playbills, yearbooks, all of the things that the district or the schools would be doing would be the only thing that you would consent to if you picked option two, nobody outside of the district. And if you chose to select option three, it would be that you do not want your child's information released to anybody.
That includes any school district publication. You don't want the school or the school district to use it at all, and you don't want anyone outside to have it. You are declining everything to do with directory information, and your child would not appear in the yearbook. If they were in a play, we would not print their information in a play. If they were on a sports roster, we would not include it there. You're declining all directory information. And then there's also a section that we've always had, it's required by law for high school students, regarding if families of high school students want their information released to military recruiters or post-secondary educational institutions. It's simply a I do not. If they don't check either box, then we will know that they're okay with their child's directory information being released to military recruiters or post-secondary institutions. And then we go into all of the parental consents for the year. These are things that parents can go through each year and declare how they want their child to participate in various programs or how they choose to receive information. We have the consent to receive electronic progress reports, report cards, and state assessment reports. A lot of these things are available to families throughout the year in the Focus Parent Portal. If they say that they're okay with receiving it, it's kind of like anything we receive, in our personal lives where they say, do you want to opt out of getting mailed a bill about this? Do you want to do e-billing? It's kind of like that. Everything would be electronic, and we wouldn't print out a copy of your report card or anything else, but you could always get that. You do not have to grant permission to that. And then we went into media center materials that can be checked out in our school libraries. We have a statement that kind of aligns to what Florida statutes requires us to do as far as what we offer being age appropriate, and making sure that families understand that they are allowed to kind of set the tone for what they want their child to have access to in the library. We have a little bit different than what's on the screen. For the first option, it says my child may check out any materials from the media center with no restrictions. That would be for a family that just, they want their child to be able to go in the media center and pick out anything that they find. The second would be that you do not want your child to check out anything from the media center. And the third would be you want your child to be able to check out items from the media center with the following exceptions. And then we allow them to type in specific titles or authors that they prefer that their child not have access to. Same as last year. We did it on a Google form last year. We're trying to do it a little bit different this year and have everything in one place so we can track it and manage it in Focus. So we would have fields for that where families can declare their intent for those. And then it goes on to annual programs. These are programs that we are required to provide to different grade levels to fulfill statutory requirements. We list a description of each of the programs, the grade levels that it would be offered to. Parents can opt out if they don't check anything here. We would automatically include their child in the age-appropriate programming that applies. These are all programs, again, that we are required to offer to students age-appropriate levels to fulfill statutory requirements. And we can go through the list here. We also included the fentanyl presentation that we partnered with the Sheriff's Office on. They started doing that last year, and that's for high school students. And then finally, we get to the Code of Student Conduct acknowledgement form. This is letting families know that we're taking their notice that they've reviewed the Code of Conduct. It lets them know that if they need more information or need a printed copy, they can contact their child's school. We do not print out a copy for every single student, but we have English and Spanish versions on our website. Once the Code of Conduct is approved for this coming school year, we will do the same thing. The parent acknowledges through the drop-down, and then there's a form where they can do the signature. That kind of indicates that they are acknowledging they've completed everything to their satisfaction. And then they would hit submit on the Focus Parent Portal, and that lets them know that they've completed all the forms that we need for the information update for this year, and they don't have to complete hard copy forms as long as they've done electronic. If they choose hard copy, they don't have to do anything in Focus. We just need them to complete it in the way that's most comfortable for them.
Are there any questions about the consents or the changes that were made that were in the red? Because we'll approve for advertising first advertising these changes that were made in red to the document.
I have something, and I don't think it needs to be in here, but I haven't seen it anywhere. These vendors that obtain information for, yearbook and things like that, are they required, or is there a prohibition of them selling that information?
There is, and we did,
It's in their vendor agreement with us?
it is, and there's also new legislation that recently passed. We had that in place anyway, but there's new legislation that recently passed that takes student data privacy to a different level. Even ours that we use internally, we have to really be on our contracts with them to make sure, not like a vendor maybe that we use for a program that we're using at the district office, like say Focus. Focus has to have in their contract that there's no way that they're using student information outside from our needs at the Martin County School District. And we also included language, I did not go over it, my apologies, on the directory consent. In the explanation where we explain to parents what the directory information is, we put in bold and red that the district does not sell directory information under any circumstances. We never have, we never will, but we just put that in there so that families can understand when they're making their elections.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just had two.
Go ahead.
So on Speak Life Bullying, is that grade level 6 only, or is it, did we limit that to grade level 6, or is that have the ability?
Teresa would be able to.
I would defer to Teresa. I'm guessing that's a typographical error that we can correct, but I'll let her explain what grade levels we do.
So that is correct. It is grade 6. We talked about last year that everybody had received, everyone above that. So the incoming 6th graders would be the only students that have not received the Speak Life Bullying. And that was discussed, I believe, at the June 5th workshop with the board.
Right, I think we discussed that it would be 6th grade incoming have not received it, but also if you transferred here, if you're an 8th grade transferring in, if you're a 7th grader transferring in, and you weren't here last year, you would then be receiving it this next year. So my concern is by saying just 6th grade, that if you have a student who is not here, who just moved here, who's in 8th grade, hopefully they would be able to see it. Right, didn't we have that?
I thought we made the decision that anyone who was wanting to see it, it would be made available to them. If they did not see it last year, whatever grade level they were. So new 6th graders would get it regardless, but it would be available to any student who had not yet seen it, which would cover your transfers, new people, et cetera. So I agree with that. I think it should be extended to anyone who has yet to see it. So parents would be made aware of it as well. If you want your student to see this, please, let us know, however that form would look.
What about we just do a refresher?
Yeah, we could do that.
6th grade, I mean.
So if we do this in middle school, can we say 6 to 8? If we also do it in high school, is there any harm in saying 6 to 12? So that if I have somebody coming in who's a 10th grader and I want them to see it, they're allowed to go see it? Can we change that to 6 to 12?
We sure can, Ms. Roberts. We could put 6 through 12, or we can put, eligible secondary students, just so that so parents are aware that it may not be, all grades 6 through 12 receiving it. However you would, whatever language you would like, we could certainly put that in.
Well, if you say 6 through 12, then you've given everyone who's interested an opportunity. You're not cutting anyone out, so.
And then we're covered.
Yeah, but you could say, I like what you said, refresher,
Parents
anyone
might
who
want
wants
them,
to go.
right.
They may want them to see it again, yeah.
So we can change that to 6 to 12?
I don't see why we couldn't.
Okay. My question about your directory information consent? Option 2, so I understand on option 1, it would include third parties, photo, media, and yearbook. But option 2 does not include third parties, but it does include photo, media, and yearbook?
So what that means is if you select option 2 under directory, that means that you're not allowing us to release your child's information to anyone outside of the school district, any type of third-party vendor, whether that be the company that makes the school yearbook. You know, say that company wants to send a postcard home to tell everyone yearbook sales are coming, or, you know, this is the day you're getting your picture taken, whatever the case, we would not be able to release that information so that the company could contact you directly. If you selected option 2, what that would mean is that you were giving us inside the Martin County School District permission to use your child's photograph in the yearbook, and we could contact you about the yearbook sales from the school district. You just don't want anything going outside of the school district about your child.
So in option 2, should we include language in there that says it includes the photo, media release, and yearbook? So that it's clear that if you're picking option 2, you are saying the only difference between 1 and 2 is the third-party vendor, right? Third-party piece.
Correct. Yes.
So, but I don't think that's necessarily clear when I look at 1 and 2 together. I think if you said in 2, this includes yearbook, et cetera, and the only thing it's not including is the third-party vendors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we can make that more
Does
clear.
that work for?
That's fine.
And thank you, I think you did a
Yeah, you
admirable
did a great
job on all
job.
these forms.
Very
did-
clear.
I did have a code of conduct question about
Okay.
I know that the Department of Education met last week and talked about 2 things. One is the gender-appropriate bathrooms, and the other one is calling people by their correct name. And I think we have until April of 2024 to prove to DOE that we have complied with that directive. So when I looked at this, I was wondering if the way that we're doing this is on page 14, your level 1 violations, number 7, where it says inappropriate location, presence of a student in an unapproved location and/or during an unapproved time. Okay, so let me back up. So I don't
Page are you
see.
on in the
What
code of
page
conduct?
14.
14, okay.
Level 1. So I don't see those 2 things addressed anywhere in this document. So I don't know whether you've addressed them somewhere or whether your plan was to address them before April of 2024, or if they could be addressed with the clarifying language on number 7, presence of student in an unapproved location and/or during an unapproved time, and if we put in parentheses, this includes whatever the suggested language is, this includes using a restroom not for the gender assigned to you. Would that?
So, Ms. Roberts, and we did speak with Greg Black about that this morning, actually, and the legislation does say that upon a complaint, if a person is asked to leave the restroom and they do not leave the restroom, of which that would then qualify for disciplinary action. I would probably say I would defer to our attorneys maybe for language on that to include in the code of conduct, if that be the board wish. I would just want to make sure that the proper language is inserted in the code of conduct and your policy.
So I understand that it doesn't become an issue until there is a complaint. I understand that. But I don't know if anybody read, believe it was in the Stewart News on Friday. I believe the DOE board met on Wednesday and approved the administrative rule that I believe said that it needed to be in your code of conduct by April 1st, 2024. So I don't know if the intent is we are approving this now, and before April 1st of 2024, we will have a new code of conduct that will include the required language that was done by administrative rule last week, or if you wanted to take care of it now. So I don't know. I know that it's been discussed. I mean, I think they just finally adopted it last week, but I would just think that, I would think that for the being in the wrong place in the bathroom, and I also realize that since this is an advertising review, that we're approving the advertising of this, that if we make any substantive change to this document, it needs to be re-advertised. But I would think that a clarification language isn't a substantive change. I would think that that's, Marcia, don't you think that's? So I would just think that if you put something in parentheses there, because I think inappropriate location covers
Right.
the instance of when you're in the wrong bathroom.
Right.
Yes.
So if the intention is for inappropriate location, level 1 violation to include being in the wrong bathroom, which I think that's the place that it belongs, that we can get ahead of the curve and not have to worry about doing a new code of conduct next spring before April of 2024 by adding a clarifying line on that page.
Would
Like-
the board approve a section with a hyperlink right there to the state board rule? Would that be,
So I think you're missing my point. I don't think there needs to be a hyperlink. I don't think there needs to be a reiteration of the state board rule. I think you need to include, my understanding from the thing from DOE was you need to include in your code of conduct language that deals with people being in the wrong bathroom. So my question is, if number 7, inappropriate location, is the place where that's landing, if we put a sentence inside of parentheses in that number 7, then we would be in compliance for that. So I don't think we need a hyperlink. I don't think we need to reiterate what the state law is. I don't think we need to do any of that. I think we just need to put a sentence there so then we're in compliance. That's number 1. Then the second piece has to deal with, Marcia may know more than I do. It's having people refer to you by a name that is not your real name. That was also in the state law, the state rule that came out last time. So I don't know whether that includes on page 17, false or misleading information, whether that's a violation by using false or misleading information. But all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say that if the DOE said last week that this is something that needs to be addressed, and for some reason I thought that all those bill tracker thing that was done internally was given to staff people to follow those and to include them in whatever needed to be done. So I think that these are 2 instances of things that need to be done that we can either handle now or we're going to be handling them in February.
I think that the second one that you're referring to was the parent, like the parental consent, the parent bill of rights. And I don't know if they put it in administrative rules somewhere else. I haven't read all of the proposed rules. I was only following a couple of them. So do you remember the rule number, which one it was?
No,
I'm just looking at it now on the state board site to see.
Yeah, I looked at it on the state board site. It was
I
the
believe
one.
it's House Bill 1069, Chair Powers.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the administrative rule because the statute says one thing, but then when they go through rulemaking, it tells you how you're supposed to do it. So I want to understand what the Florida Administrative Code says. And so it must be, is it 6A 10.086?
Hang on, I'll find it for you.
And then there's another one, Safety
Yeah.
and Private Spaces Act.
Jen has it.
6A 10.086 is about the bathrooms, locker rooms, and then there's one 6A.10955 education records, but I think that the pronouns might fall under that one.
I'm just looking, so on the DOE site, I'm looking at the press release from July 19th that said, today the State Board of Education approved 3 administrative rules to strengthen and enhance the safety and welfare of children. Require restrooms and changing facilities to be separated based on biological sex at birth, ensure transparency of records for parents, and then the one where you can't have adult live entertainment.
So it does say, in that Florida Administrative Code, it does say that the student code of conduct has been updated according to section 533.8 Florida statute.
Right.
And that the school district has established disciplinary procedures for employees, I don't know, for the restrooms, not, I have to read this really, this is the compliance section.
Right, so when I read it, it was that in the code of conduct, you have to adopt disciplinary procedures if a student violates that, and that's the thing that has to be done by April 1st. So I think that calling somebody by a name that the parent isn't aware of, I don't think necessarily has to be in the code of conduct. If it does, I think the place for it is on page 17, number 11.
Okay, so it says, format by April 1, 2024, each school district and charter school authorizer must submit the Safety in Private Spaces Act form effective August 2023, which is hereby incorporated by reference to certify all of their schools are in compliance to the department. If a facility is established after July 1, the school district or charter authorizer must submit the form SPCA within 1 year of establishment. And then it says, each school district and charter school must implement procedures to collect compliance information.
So I think when we submit the form that's due in April, the form has to certify that you've put it in your code of conduct, because if you do a code of conduct search, that's where it showed up.
Yeah, so it does say that it says that the school district has established disciplinary procedures for employees according to section, but then it does say that the student code of conduct has been updated after it talks about exclusive use by males or females as defined.
Right, which is why I thought if it was put into that level 1, I mean, you look at the sanctions for level 1, parent guardian contact, referral to guidance, verbal reprimand, warning. I mean, it's it's the consequence to the student is what the code of conduct piece is. So I understand the other piece, but I think what they're looking for is, the way I read it is, if they want it in your code of conduct, they're looking for the consequence for a student. And I'm just trying to get ahead of it.
I believe that it would be appropriate to add it to number 7, if the rest of the board is in agreement, so that we could proceed forward and be in compliance now. According to our presentation this morning, it only becomes unapproved when someone else is in the restroom, feels uncomfortable, asks for them to be removed, and they do not leave. At that point, it would become a disciplinary consequence or action by the administrative staff who does the investigation. So a simple sentence there to include wrong restroom or inappropriate restroom based on biological sex, at that point would give us the ability to proceed forward with the student code of conduct level 1 criteria.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I agree with that.
Well, and I think that we really you need to really look at the Florida Administrative Code that was just adopted
Yeah.
about the designation and,
I just think it's clarifying, so I don't think it needs to be re-advertised or anything. I think you're just clarifying something that's in there. But I mean, I just think that we're ahead of ourselves if we go ahead and put it in then, so that when you fill out your form next March to turn it in by April, you've already done it and it's already included in there. And then the second part to that is, I don't know whether that administrative rule includes, I think the administrative rule, when I say, please call me Junior instead of my name, I think that is more for educators and it's not a violation of a student, because the student isn't the one calling themselves by that name. I mean, if it was, I think it would be under the level 2 page 17, number 11, giving false or misleading information.
Yeah, and I think that has to, I mean, that can happen. They can call a student by another name, but the parent has to have approved that in it.
Right.
Outside
So
of-
even if that means, under the false or misleading information, even if that gets a clarifying sentence that says, being called by other than your given name requires parental, parental permission given for being called by somebody other than your given name is not misleading information. So then that's clear, that if my mother says I can be called Junior, I'm not giving you false or misleading information. Does that?
I think for clarification purposes, just so that we know direction for, would be, if I am a teacher and I continue to call a student by a name that is not, that the parent has not given consent for the teacher to call them by, that would be a professional standards referral to be investigated, not necessarily in the student code of conduct. A student that is calling another student an inappropriate name, which we would categorize that as, I don't want to be called that, you continue to call me that, would fall under a different place in the student code of conduct, because now you're disrespecting me.
Right.
You are continuing to taunt me or tease me or call me names, which I believe we are covered in the current student code of conduct by those means. So you have two different things. 7 needs to be addressed. I agree with you 100%. I would like for the board to take action on that. And then 11 is not necessarily something I believe needs to be changed,
Right.
because we would handle that through professional standards.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
That's
So,
all I have.
can we make a motion to proceed with approving the code of conduct
Well, yes.
with the change in the location area? I just want to say this. Because it's now law, inappropriate location is saying that. I hear what you're saying, but right now, if you use the wrong bathroom and somebody calls it to the staff's attention and the student doesn't leave, that student is in an inappropriate location. So I don't know that we have to necessarily clarify it, because the inappropriate location is already stated there.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
my 2
And the-
cents.
And the only reason I was looking at it was that if you have a compliance thing that you're supposed to do, if you go ahead and,
But we are compliant. We're saying
Sure, sure.
you're in an inappropriate location.
Yeah.
Because by law, you shouldn't be there, and there's another student that feels uncomfortable that you're there. So that's just another spin on it. And I'll do whatever
Yeah.
the board decides, but I kind of think the word inappropriate kind of speaks for itself.
yeah.
I'm just going to look really quick at what the statute references,
Good idea.
because there's, when it talks about what Ms. Roberts said, that in our code of conduct. So the statute is private spaces.
Well, bathroom's private.
Yeah.
You could say to include using a restroom that is not authorized.
Or just use the language straight out of not from your gender assigned by, that's it,
Well, and it's, there's a whole list of things in that statute that are not just restrooms. Could be the locker room.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I think the inappropriate location or unauthorized area would be more all-encompassing,
yeah.
because Ms. Chair Powers is correct. It is more than just
Yeah.
the bathroom.
So what allows the student to find that information, other than state statute?
Well, that's why that's why you would have it as a
That's why you would have
clarifying
what
in
you
a
want to do, yeah.
code of conduct. Plus, I'm thinking that then when you have to certify in February, March, that you've done it,
Right,
it's
item
like,
number 11,
you can
11.
look on page, and we do address gender,
It's clearly.
it says gender assigned at birth in here, so that was our
I like that idea.
I think then you're kind of, because I agree with you, Ms. Pritchett, that yes, it's already spelled out, et cetera, but just to make it
Sometimes
so
you
that
have to-
it's, yeah,
course
to
you
make
will.
sure everybody really, yeah,
Parentheses, yeah.
whatever that piece looks like.
I know. So what do we land on?
So I move approval of,
Wait.
oh,
We're not done with the code of conduct. I'm not. I have some questions,
oh, okay.
because I want to talk about the dress code. I think people came here to talk about the dress code.
Oh, and I
So we
thought
don't
we were
wanna,
doing it in board
yeah.
comment. We can do it now, because I.
Yeah, we need to do it now,
Okay.
because
Okay.
this is
All right.
where we would make any,
Okay, and
minor
I'm sorry that they
changes.
left, because I thought we were
She's
going to
calling them now.
Please tell them to come back.
so, let's see, that's specific.
Should
So
we
it-
make a motion on?
It does,
No,
yeah,
not, we'll
until we
do
do
the
the-
whole
okay.
thing at one
Okay.
time.
it does concern me, the enforcement issue concerns me. The enforcement that in a girl's case, I'm saying your shorts are too short, but in a boy's case, I'm giving you a free ride because boys wear their shorts shorter. I mean, I think that's a,
It's an
So-
easy fix.
so just starting with, I mean, I think that's that piece there, as to how short your shorts are, I think is an enforcement thing. So whether the shorts are 4 inches or 6 inches or, whatever the inches is, I think it's a universal thing. And I think that our staff needs to understand that enforcement doesn't go by gender. I mean, enforcement is by,
Well,
it's a tape measure. It's
The
not a-
rule is just unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can't, I'm assuming that the shorts that you have on right now are a 5-inch inseam, which are completely modest. And girls can't even wear those. They can't even,
No, those
Where-
are old lady shorts.
well, I mean, not that they would want to wear them, but they can't, even if they wanted to.
And we live in South Florida. I feel like it's
Yeah.
unreasonable.
So, I have always had an issue with our dress code over the years when we have this opportunity. It is absolutely biased against girls. I purposely pulled up a picture that my daughter got dress code at Jensen Beach High School for. She missed her entire AP class, which I'm sure you girls know, it's hard to miss an AP class and catch up because she had this shirt on. It's just ridiculous. Not to say that she had on her Hollister skinny tight jeans that wasn't even a question. Well, it showed the collarbone.
Which
But is
we-
there anything in here that
Not
says?
now, we just took that
We
out.
took that out
Yeah.
months ago.
Well, when we did the first
Yes,
review.
yeah.
But when I look at the outfit and the legging thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
For girls, that they can't wear leggings. And I get that you can't have anything see-through, you can't show your midriff. And it's really crazy that we want kids to be responsible and make good decisions, but we don't ever get them the opportunity to do that. And if you go to a college campus, which I drive around my daughter's college campus, and I see all the girls wearing leggings, and I see all the girls wearing shorts. They don't have everything hanging out. At some point, we have to give them some latitude to make good decisions. And as adults, that's our job to help them make good decisions. I know somebody brought up being comfortable at work. And I think, yes, there are days that you can come to work in jeans, and there are days, which I'm sure all of these kids know, that you need to step up your game because you're going to have an interview for a scholarship or you're going to be doing a presentation in your class. It's no different. We're teaching them how to be appropriate in different situations. It is absolutely biased. I always hear, well, some people it's okay to wear leggings, but some people just don't look good in leggings.
That's not our call. If they
That's
don't
not
look
our
good in
call.
them.
And I appreciated someone saying, that we should be respectful and appreciate other people's bodies, women especially, that are shamed
Yes.
constantly because, oh, well, we don't, society doesn't think they're thin enough, or, you know, their chest is too big, or their backside is too big, and they shouldn't wear leggings. Well, as long as it's not see-through and, you know, I don't see
I think if they wear a top that covers exactly what you said was perfect. Thank you. And welcome to Martin County and your daughter. Thank you for coming. I agree wholeheartedly. You can't, sorry. But I like what you said. Would you mind, can you just stand up? That's totally appropriate. I don't want to use the word tunic, because sometimes tunic is really long, but something that covers, yes.
Like the baggier shirts, like
A shirt, like, I think if you stand up and you put your arms at your side, like we want them to do for their jeans, there can't be any holes above those fingers. Why can't we do something like that? This is so restrictive and it's so unfair to the girls. It just really is. They're representing well, and I think maybe we should have your picture. This is appropriate or something. I'm being funny, but I appreciate you coming, and I agree with you, and I agree with the girls that we can't keep restricting this like this. We just can't. It's wrong.
And also, there's the standpoint of the individuals that have sensory issues that, you
Yeah.
know, we lead normal lives, we don't have sensory issues, so we take that for granted, and there's so many that need
Comfort.
that feeling.
Yeah.
I know what that's like for my son, so I'm like, you know, for him, he doesn't want to wear a shirt, you know, it's an act of Congress to get him to wear a shirt. So, you know, for me, I feel like we need to take that into consideration, that we're making these children who have special needs accommodate to what, you know, we do every day.
they are gonna have to wear a shirt, though.
Yes, yes, no, I do understand that. But, you know, as far as having jeans, to get him in jeans, like, that's not something, he doesn't own jeans, he doesn't, you know, he won't wear jeans.
And the shorts. I mean, as long as your shorts are perfectly fine. I don't know why they wouldn't. I get it if you have a super tall person and the shorts are going to be way higher, but I think we have to make accommodations and be practical. And that goes for whoever wants to wear them, as long as the coverage is there. I don't see an issue with leggings at all.
So I guess my recommendations are that, you know, I'm fine with number one, the whole tank tops, tube tops, spaghetti straps, okay. Bareback, midriff. There is another part about cleavage. See-through, absolutely should not be allowed,
Right.
anything see-through. Now, the skin-tight clothing is, I think, is problematic when you talk about leggings, because I think that will always be like an issue, because leggings are skin-tight, but so are the jeans that
Right.
the girls
Someone
wear,
has to
and
on, right?
the boys. The boys wear skin-tight jeans too.
Yes, and they don't get coded for wearing skin-tight jeans.
So I think we need to come up with some sort of, you know, I think that's gonna be, that skin-tight clothing is gonna have to come out if we're
Yeah.
gonna allow leggings.
Yep.
Well, remember we had some presentations a couple of years ago, Marcia? Lee, you might have been here during those presentations. It's been several years ago, but there was, I think there was actually, somebody did a photo presentation about how certain clothes are worn appropriately and how certain clothes may be worn inappropriately. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And I remember we had the leggings discussion at that time also. And there was somebody who came in who thought that, I don't think we allowed leggings at all, and that's when we outlawed the leggings. A parent came in and showed the way they wanted their child to dress, and it was inappropriate for school. It might have been inappropriate for a club or somewhere like that, but for a school, I think it was inappropriate. And that's why I supported the leggings thing. But they also talked about how, you know, children, and probably guys too, but girls also, will leave the house looking one way, and by the time they get to the school, they look a total different way. You know, their leggings are pulled way up tight, and they're rolled down on top, and that's when they show off a little bit more of the body than probably should be. I'm not saying either one of you guys do that, but I've noticed it at schools. I've noticed it all around town. People do that, and you know, guys tend to wear their pants baggy or falling off themselves, showing their underwear or worse. You know, I think there should be some method for us to discuss the appropriate wearing of them if you want to put leggings back on for students. Because I understand they want to be individual, they want to be comfortable. I mean, I hate to wear jeans, I hate to wear pants. I wear shorts every day. You know, if I could wear shorts here, I would, but I can't. So, you know, I put on a pair of pants or something, but outside, it's hot. And it's terrible to have to be confined to heavy clothes. I don't know that I really care about the holes in the pants, like you say. If there's holes,
I'm just saying
they gotta
it's
be
in the
down
dress
low,
code,
that's all.
yeah.
Yeah,
And you use that same standard.
right, and only in the front, not in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
So
From the knee down
yeah,
for,
from the, basically, yeah.
It could, yeah, I mean, it's, again, it's all, you know, you got, you know, thousands of teachers, a couple of thousand teachers or less, but, you know, everybody's gonna have a different opinion on what's appropriate and what's not. So we really need to define what's appropriate and what's not very well, and then they probably need some explaining.
well, I actually think that they do, I mean, not that I agreed with the dress code at Jensen Beach High School, but they do a very good job at the beginning of the year showing students what they can and cannot wear and how they should wear them and what the expectations are. So I thought that they did a really good job with that, and I don't think that that should change. I think
They
that
don't allow them at Jensen Beach High
they
School.
don't- well, that just happened to be, Jensen Beach does have they're very strict.
Mhm.
But again, like they said, it's mostly girls. My son never got a dress code violation, and I can assure you that his shorts were shorter than 4 inches above his knee.
Yeah.
So,
I think we also need consistency. I think if we're gonna, if we're going to put in language that leggings are allowed, the school board is making that decision, and they should be allowed at every school, not just the SAC decides. Because we talked about that too, that we had the final say, and they should be allowed at all the schools with those modifications. That's just how I feel. And I'm also very impressed that you put in the financial aspect, because they are expensive. Jeans are expensive. So you're looking at that, which I think is pretty awesome.
I'm impressed that you stood up and
Yes,
spoke very well,
yes,
too.
Yes.
So you guys did good.
Well, it was
Most students won't do
impressive.
that.
$165 is crazy for a pair of jeans.
did you have a comment?
Yeah, so I'm suggesting that maybe we have two clarifications on number 1 and number 2 on page 46. And the reason I'm using the word clarification is because obviously if we substantially change the dress code, it's a document that's inside the code of conduct, and by being inside the code of conduct means that we need to re-advertise and start this over with because we no longer are using what was clarified. So for number 1, for example, which is the one that has the language skin-tight clothing, which you would think would incorporate leggings and skinny jeans, if after that, at the end, we put leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending below the waistband. So if we
Well,
said,
Below the waistband does not
not cutting it.
cover,
well, or however many inches below the waistband, but I mean, something along
no
those.
inches, just
Covering the-
like
Covering the
covering
rear end.
your front and back. I mean, it's,
Covering looser
wanna use
top.
that
I don't know what the,
But all I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to come up with something so that we're clarifying that we don't consider this an instance of using leggings and skinny jeans, we don't consider that skin-tight clothing when you wear it in this manner. So that way, we don't have to re-advertise and start over with this. So, but if we start with leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top,
That,
or we can even just say an appropriate looser top, but the problem with just saying that, not defining the looser top is, you're not gonna get consistency across the district. You're gonna have a principal in one place saying, oh, it's gotta be this, and a principal in another place saying, that looser top has to be to your knees, or I'm not approving, so I mean, I think it's,
I think the knees a little too
Mid-thigh.
Should
far.
do a,
mid-thigh?
maybe,
Mid-thigh.
Mid-thigh.
no way, that's like,
Well, no,
that's a tunic.
well, what's above a tunic? Is there a,
How about,
because it's,
probably that's a little too short.
No.
can I say extending below the crotch? Everybody
that's
okay with that?
really-
That's what we're talking
going
about.
for the front and the back,
We're
so-
talking about the crotch.
Extremities. I don't know what to say.
But if I say covering the buttocks, then I have to
Pull it
say
up anyway.
something to include the front of it too, so I'm not just covering the buttocks. Can I just say crotch? Does anybody have a problem with the word crotch?
I don't have a problem with that, because that's exactly what
That's
we're
what we're trying to
talking
talk
about.
about.
So, but
I don't
Anybody-
wanna talk about ladies' clothes.
I mean, do you have a?
superintendent,
recommendation?
I think I don't know, I think below the hip, I don't know, what part of your leg?
Mid-thigh is pretty low, but I would avoid definitely using the word crotch.
Well,
Just that's-
Yes,
that's
we
my-
can't use that.
Because that goes right here, which is like
8 inches below the waistband?
No, we can't do inches.
And you'll have the ruler effect. And
Well, you're gonna have a ruler anyway.
And this is where my hip is.
Like below the hip bone would probably do that.
Then I'm seeing her crotch.
Okay, can you put your hands by your side?
I'm not
please?
seeing
Let's see
your
what that
crotch, I'm
looks
not
like.
seeing it.
She's wearing black.
Yeah, so that's too, I mean, if it,
See, everybody's
See, I like-
hands go differently.
I like the Malibu shirt.
Yes, that's,
a lot of sweatshirts have this length, so maybe pairing it with like sweatshirt length. Yeah,
sweatshirt length, maybe? I don't know.
all sweatshirts.
But I know people who cut off their sweatshirts. I mean, I'm just trying to,
Because her hips are right here, so just below the hip would be like.
yeah, below the,
Below the hip.
Can you put your hands down again so I can see where your wrist is?
yeah, that's.
oh, that's.
So if I
that's
said
more
wrist
along the
level, right?
lines. Yeah. wrist
If I
level.
said wrist level, you're gonna try to make your arms, I mean, even if you tried to pull your arms up, right? You can't really do it, right?
Raise your shoulders.
I would,
I mean,
Come out 6
wrist
inches.
levels, I think that's.
No, but you're trying to make it shorter, you're
Oh,
not
you
trying to
took
make it,
your-
I mean, if I'm trying to make it shorter, what are you gonna do to
well,
make
I
your wrist?
wouldn't
Raise your
wear
shoulders.
leggings with this, I don't know. Like,
Tips of your fingers? I mean,
That's,
Tips of your fingers.
that's the tunic again. But I think the wrist is actually a good point.
Not a conversation I'm enjoying.
So if I said leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending to wrist level. Does that work? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Jennifer?
Because that's then, like, I'm
Well,
sorry, but
with-
that's like what you said, bodies are different. Madeline's arms are a lot longer than mine, like, it just, so I feel like it varies, but,
But Madeline, pull your arms, like, pull your shoulders up so you get your wrists, see, you got your wrists to where they need to be.
I don't
So-
move them an inch.
So yeah, but it's enough to make her so that she passes, is the point.
like, be okay with leggings?
Yeah, if you pulled your shoulders up, that shirt would be okay with leggings.
Well, I feel like they would notice if I was like,
yeah. I would-
You're covering what you're covering. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jennifer's trying to say something, but she's not
Sorry.
speaking loudly. What is she saying?
say it.
I was suggesting pelvic area as opposed to crotch.
I think we have to have the discussion because that's exactly what the issue is. So let's put the elephant in the room and find common language that we can all live with.
I would say extending to wrist level.
Do you have something?
Getting back to what I said,
I
Marcia, getting back to what I said earlier about that time we had that giant discussion, it was,
Even a guy's shorts, you can see the outline of a guy's buttocks on shorts. That's not anything wrong with that.
I don't think anything is either.
So her wrists are here.
Yeah, I mean, the other piece of it is it's dark. She's wearing all black. If she was wearing a white tee or a yellow tee or a pink tee, it would accentuate, that's all. But I think it looks fine.
I just don't want them to like make them wear them way down here.
So people, so, all right, so we gotta
Sorry.
hold up for 1 second. So if you want to talk, you're gonna have to come to the microphone
Apologize.
so that the people that are watching can hear. So we want to get input, though. This is,
It's a big
it's a
issue.
big decision. Go ahead, Lisa.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Maine, Lisa Estevez, Assistant Superintendent of Student Support Services. So I just was sitting and I'm listening, and as Mrs. Powers, I've had sons who went through the school, Martin County School District, and I do know, I've had friends who've had daughters with some of the issues with measuring and pulling out measuring tapes. That creates an issue. And so I'm just trying to look at this from a perspective of just like being equitable. Some girls have longer arms than others. Wrist lengths are at different places. Students were seen to be doing things like this, right, Mrs. Powers? We know that there's always going to be a way around it, which is why I think that it just kind of makes sense. If you're covering your buttocks, you are covering the front. And so I think that is kind of like if it covers your buttocks because of the way your stature is, the way your torso is set, everybody even has different sized torsos. And so that kind of makes it be something that an administrator or somebody or anybody walking on campus can just like look at it. You don't have to measure, you don't have to touch them, you don't have to say, go to the dean's office, you just look, you see that the shirt is there. That is just my interpretation of something that can be
So,
streamlined.
Ms. Estevez, when you say that, so you would be okay with a shirt that is long in the back that covers the buttocks, but is up to the waistband in the front? Or how would you address that?
Or tucked
Well,
in.
I would have to say that
Because there are shirts that do
I
that.
haven't seen haven't seen too many shirts unless you're wearing, right, exercise shirts. That would be lower in the front and, shorter in the front and lower in the back. But in general, most of the things that I think the young ladies are purchasing now are not that style.
So I guess
Not saying I'm a fashion guru, just.
my question is, what's so offensive about that? Like, I just want to understand what's offensive, because a boy can wear anything they want. They can tuck their shirt in and wear skinny jeans, and
Well, I don't think
so
they
what's
should be
the
allowed to.
what's the difference?
I think it's the same thing. If they're wearing skinny jeans or if they're wearing leggings, it needs to be paired with a looser top to whatever level, whether you're a boy, whether you're a girl, whatever. And I don't care what gender you are, I think that's just the requirement. So if you're gonna be a boy and you're gonna wear skinny jeans, you need to wear a t-shirt that is X level. And then the standard is the same, then it doesn't
I
matter
don't
if
know
you're a boy or
what,
girl.
I can't remember, let me look at what the middle school, because I know when my son was at Stewart Middle, they had to wear, if you had on pants that had belt loops, you had to wear a belt. That went away, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But all the kids, what they would do is they would put their shorts on and their collared shirt, because they had to wear, and they wear a sweatshirt. They all wear hoodies. You watch what happens when they leave Stewart Middle School. They all have hoodies on because they don't want to, their collared shirts are not cool. So, but I don't see the problem with the t-shirt as long as it's not graphic or offensive, it has something bad on it. The kids wear t-shirts.
Honestly, bringing it back to your point too, as long as it's a loose shirt, because a lot of them, you move, if you get hot, like, you just naturally pull up your clothes sometimes, just kind of addressing, like, the other elephant in the room of, like, I get how with some women, all bodies are different, that, like, your butt area is distracting, but it's also, like, why you're supposed to be learning in school. Like, why is it considered distracting to begin with, especially as high school students? We're going to college. Like, I feel like it's such a childish thing to be trying to hide our bodies when it's something, like, that, like, as just human beings, it's like, that's who we are, is our body. And I totally understand that you shouldn't be glorifying it necessarily always, wearing super tight clothes, like a super tight shirt with super tight leggings. But if you had a loose shirt or something that, again, we're there to learn. Some of us are going to be adults this year. Like, just putting it into perspective that a butt, unless it's not distracting unless, like my sister said, you're making it distracting. You're the one staring at it, being distracted because I'm sitting in my chair at school. Like, if you're finding a way to, when I am walking in that 5-minute period to my next classroom, staring at my butt, like, that seems like more so in their issue if I'm wearing a loose shirt and you're seeing half my butt and you're so focused on that. Just personally, like, I
That's
totally
not your,
understand.
that is totally not your problem.
It's just
That is
like I'm a
not
I
your
can't
problem
control
that
it.
somebody
It's
is distracted by.
a 5-minute window. I'm sitting down for 45 minutes.
So Sarah, so
Yes, ma'am.
I feel, I want to understand what it is you're saying. So are you saying that buttocks should be allowed to be exposed?
No,
Are you
I'm
saying
not
buttock-
exposed.
Not exposed,
But,
but
like,
with
if you're
tight
wearing-
clothing?
If you have leggings on with a loose shirt that covers maybe half your butt, full butt, you also have a backpack on which is covering the top of your butt. You are also wearing, boys walk around with their tight, like, I'm not staring at the person in front of me's butt. It's a 5-minute window. You're sitting down in your classroom for 45 minutes a day. You're at the lunch, you're sitting down. It's a 5-minute window of you have your backpack covering your butt, you have your loose shirt on. I completely understand the midriff, that if you're gonna wear a tight shirt and leggings, it should be a loose shirt, but I think going to the measurements of necessarily where you need the length to be with your shirt just becomes very complicated, especially when we're talking about a 4-minute period that happens for some people once a day if you have one period, but at the most 7 times a day. So 7 times 5, you're looking at 35 minutes out of the day you're considered distracting. That just is a hard concept for me to understand when us as females, us as males, like, this is your body, this is what you were given at birth. It's not like you're trying, and we are going to be adults, some of us this year, I know I will be. It's just moving like in college, and that's what you're preparing us for. As adults, you prepare your kids for the real world and what you're going to be. So teaching them, we're not trying to be provocative or like have a guy look at me. I'm just trying to learn and be comfortable. So I guess that's where I was just trying to address like that elephant in the room of why it's distracting if you're wearing a loose shirt, a backpack, and it's a 5-minute period that adds up to 35 minutes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Ms. Pritchett?
Sarah,
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
it's the front of the leggings.
Oh, the
and
front of the
length,
leggings? I
and the
completely
length of
understand.
the shirt.
If you have
So if it goes to your buttocks, it's going to cover the front as well.
If you
Let's
had a loose
talk
shirt
about
like
it.
Madeline's though,
It's the same.
or like a little
Right.
higher, does it have to be full coverage of the butt?
No, I'm
long-
just saying that if you're covering the butt or a portion of it, you're definitely covering the
Oh, I
front.
completely understand.
So
as
how-
long as you're not wearing your leggings inappropriately, like having
I'm
just
sorry,
kind of-
but that's the issue.
I feel like
I don't think
for
that's
me.
an issue. Like, what?
It's also, yeah, I don't see, because when
Wait,
you're walking
hold on,
forward-
hold on.
It is for
I just
boys who are wearing leggings.
yeah, I just feel that
Oh, wow, so we make a rule for boys, finally.
no, I just feel that I pretty much never see, like, if a guy's wearing shorts, I can see the entire, like, I can see the tassel on his waistband, like, it's not, like, covering the front and the back, it's, like, never like that, and so, and to build on her point about how we're gonna be sitting down anyways, when you're walking in the hall, you have a backpack on, so that automatically covers, like, most, so that's covering the back, but then for the front area, if you wear a shirt this would be considered, because if my hips are right here, then this is considered, like just below, like hip waist level.
And that is
And my
totally
front's like
appropriate.
completely covered, so I feel like
Totally appropriate.
that kind of covers the problem with having your front section covered.
even if
So
you had it like a
this
tiny,
is I would consider, if I were to read something that said shirt must be below hip level, if this is my hip, it's below, I feel like that's very easy to understand.
but even like loose shirts, because you're always gonna have the 1 or 2 students that'll wreck it, like we've had bathroom problems in the past, where it's like they're gonna try and find a way, but you gotta look at the majority, like you said, where it's not a problem if you have that loose shirt, like I get some of them will be down here, but if it's here and loose, and I'm just walking around, and I'm not like hiking up my leggings, like that will never be an issue. Bringing it back to the point of if it becomes a problem, then you speak to that one or two students and not always. I get sometimes you have to punish the majority, but a lot of us are just out here trying to learn, trying to be comfortable, and
And it seems that it's the exceptions that cause the problem.
oh, 100%.
So,
And there'll always
agree
be.
with you.
I feel if you're wearing a crop top and leggings,
No.
I don't see a problem with saying, I think you need to go to the dean's office.
But if you have a loose shirt, you're minding your own business, your leggings aren't hiked up to have any weird areas exposed in a way, like, then I completely think that just it'll, there won't be distracting at all.
I appreciate everything.
Yes, thank you so much for listening
You're
to
welcome.
us.
All right, thank you, guys. Oh,
Madam Chair.
I'm gonna
members
need
of-
you to fill out a form before you leave, okay?
Promise. Madam Chair, members of the board, Maine. So,
And your name, please?
Joan Rains.
Thank you.
So I've kind of gotten to see both sides of this as a parent and now as an employee at Stewart Middle School. And I can tell you that 98% of the girls that are in leggings, it's not an issue of them covering things. I think what we kind of always looked at was the top of the leg bone. That make sure that that's their crotchal region. So it's as long as it covers the top of the leg bone. But when we went to school, you had a picture, and this was appropriate, and this wasn't, and it went out to all the schools.
Right.
And
That's
that
right.
it is what it is. But I definitely think dress code is the bane of our existence, and I hate to see kids spend sometimes hours in student services for the most minor dress code infraction because they have to have somebody come bring them a change of clothes.
Right.
So I definitely think, I mean, with the leggings, if they have a shirt that comes down to their hip bone, but 96% of them are in hoodies and big hoodies.
Yeah.
So they're always really covered, boys and girls, but I definitely think having a daughter that was a competitive gymnast, leggings were her life and comfort, and it makes life so much easier for the parents, and to have them say, okay, shirts, hip bone, or from the top of the leg and down, you're totally covered.
Well, and I think we should give these kids the opportunity to prove us
Yes.
right.
Yes.
That's what I think. Give them the chance, and if we have an issue with it, we'll readdress it. So tell all your friends, if they mess this up, they're gonna lose the right to have it. So we just need to figure out what that looks like in a dress code.
I was just gonna say, and I'll volunteer these girls, if you need new videos made, they
said
can,
that.
they can do it.
could be
They
our
can
model.
model for you, they
Yeah.
can put it all together as part of their preparing for adulthood and college presentations.
Do's and don'ts.
Yes.
Was it Jensen does the presentation of the student? I think Martin County does also, where they bring a student out that's properly dressed and improperly dressed.
Yes.
And I think that probably should happen at all our schools,
Absolutely.
Well, and we put it
along
out
with the
there,
photographs of people that
I mean,
are
we need
dressed
to
properly and improperly.
put out realistic things that are not gonna be in the dress code. Some of the things are, kids would never wear that kind of stuff anyway, but we need to be realistic about what kids are wearing and, clear on what would be a violation. And we share that out, not just with students, but with our administrators as well, so they have a guide.
And anyone who's opposed to leggings, they just don't have to wear them. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you want to wear them, you wear them. If you don't want to wear them, you don't wear them.
Well, and I think we need to address shorts too.
Yes.
Language for that one, but I
Okay.
was waiting
Go
until we
ahead.
got through number one. Do you
Yeah.
want to finish number one first?
Yeah, let's do number one. So we're removing skin-tight clothing,
No. I
No.
was going to leave skin-tight clothing,
Because
So
they
that
are
we're not-
skin-tight.
not including
that-
leggings.
so that we're not making a substantial change, but just clarifying with the sentence that said, leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending,
Maybe we just say,
with a looser top,
I think I
Say
like,
top.
with an appropriate looser top. But then the problem is going to be, my school is going to think an appropriate looser top is down to your knees, and her school is going to think an appropriate looser top is at your hip bone.
if we roll it out with some visual, I think that will
With an appropriate.
solve that. And those visuals can be inserted into
That could be your
the
guideline.
dress code, and, I mean, a link to the pictures. I mean, however you want to do it. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, this is how you wear it, and this is how you don't wear it. And if they don't get the visual, then they're gonna get written up. So maybe
Fair
just
power.
say with an appropriate
Length top.
length top. Yeah.
Chair Powers, this is Ms. Iwuchi. May I make a recommendation?
Sure.
So just looking at some other dress codes, again, some of the things we look at administratively is it observable? Is it measurable? Is it enforceable? So I hear the conversation around loose or top. I think the question about loose or top is what is loose to me? What would be loose to the next administrator and down the road? Looking at Pinellas County, and this is just an example of what they have form-fitting leotard spandex type clothing is not allowed unless proper outer garments cover to mid-thigh length or longer. So just something as maybe like a baseline, if you wanted to say, hip, top of the hip. Again, I think it gives, when you're looking at it as an administrator, what is enforceable, what is measurable. We don't want to get back into well, this is loose, well, no, it's not loose enough, those types of conversations. So that's just something to think about.
So mid-thigh is, that's essentially you're
That's-
wearing,
That's a tunic. like
you're
you
wearing a dress on top of like,
said. Yeah.
If you had a loose fit.
And I would suggest, again, a normal t-shirt, right? Again, if we're saying leggings are okay, which is fine to say that they are okay to wear, or jeggings, or, whatever the term is for the jeans now, but maybe it's just a shirt that, it comes to, your hip. So we're saying that it's covering. I'm not sure, what we're looking really to cover. I think just a regular t-shirt, like I said, that does come to your hip or longer would be appropriate, or,
Hip or longer.
and I don't know if hip is the correct term, but I'm just kind of giving an example for discussion.
go ahead, Ms. Roberts.
So I have two different ones here. Leggings and, so after everything's written, then leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with, and here's option A, an appropriate length looser top. That's option A. Or leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending to the hip bone.
At
The hip bone?
least, at least the hip bone.
And then if we, like you said.
So
Yeah.
Ms. Roberts, your second one as an administrator would give me more, again, you've given me an observable, measurable piece that I'm looking at. So an appropriate top or an appropriate length top may be open across the board to different interpretations. So again, I like your second as a guide for administration.
leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending to a minimum of the hip bone.
I think that would work. Absolutely.
And now we realize, of course, we're not eliminating skin-tight clothing, we're just adding clarification onto the language here, so we don't need to re-add.
And I think the students will know soon enough what's appropriate and what isn't, because they will be coded if they don't comply.
Correct.
But I don't think we throw out leggings because
I
a
think
few people violate.
Well, I think we get our videographer to start putting something together
Yeah.
with the help of some of our high school and middle school students as well.
We'll have
To
volunteers
have some
there.
examples, we'll have some different body types, different styles of clothes, whatever it is, and we'll put something together and
I like that a lot.
get it out on all of our social
Yeah.
media so that parents know pretty quickly what our expectations are.
Okay.
Can we move, so we're good with that?
Yeah.
For number 2, the sentence that says shorts must be no shorter than 4 inches above the knee, can we add to that, or have a blank inch minimum inseam?
Well, I don't know how you're going to measure the inseam, which it would be very problematic for our administrators to get out the tape measure to measure an inseam
So then
of
what would you
shorts.
rather do is instead of 4 inches above the knee?
Well, I just think I think that It goes on to say, there's another one that says, pants, jeans, slacks, shorts must be worn at the hip bone, pants must be secure, but wait, there's another one about the cleavage too. But I'm
Cleavage
thinking
is-
about something that we add about the length of shorts and not exposing.
So the length of shorts is in 2.
I know,
So-
but there is another section that talks about, did we take all that out about
Yes, yes,
the last time?
yes. So, shorts. Yes.
You get into the long legs and the short legs, and it's different.
Well, it's really mostly about showing,
Yeah.
I mean, being so short that it's showing your buttocks and your business. I don't know how you say it, what other words we can.
Keep your business private.
I don't know what the.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need to
You have
say
somebody who
something.
wants to say something, Marcia.
Huh?
You have somebody,
Well,
Come up here to say something.
oh,
Can I just make a
Yeah,
suggestion? Instead of knee up, think about bottom down.
Yeah.
Because you have different lengths, so shorts have to be 3 inches below your butt cheek, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, decide,
Like like what they do at camp, where they say fingertip
Correct.
length?
yeah, but go the
Opposite way.
Go from, go
Instead of
from,
Yeah.
here up, because people are tall, people are short.
Yeah, so-
Everybody's got a butt cheek, so many inches down. Think of it that way, the opposite.
top down.
Yeah, because everybody's a lot more, there are a lot of good parents out there that know how to make sure their daughters and sons are dressed properly, so. just-
Well, I have confidence that the majority of kids will,
so
will,
it's below,
the way they leave the house and the way they get to school are two different things.
well, when they get to school, if they're not wearing the right length, they're gonna be
Yeah.
coded, so.
So if you're stuck on measuring it, I would, if she's wearing 5 inch, that's inseam though, the 5 inch, isn't it?
yeah.
So I like that idea, whatever it is, however
Must-
many inches
must
below the
be-
buttocks.
Must fully cover. Again, we're getting in that word
Use
again,
that word.
that word.
Buttocks and,
Cheeks,
I don't know why we can't use that word.
buttocks. I'm okay with
Crotch?
buttocks.
Buttocks is
No,
fine.
no,
Buttocks
this is,
is fine, but.
yes,
crotches.
no, I don't like that one. So they
How about a
must
length-
be
how about a
below,
length
they
half?
must be well below the buttocks.
How about halfway from the inseam to the knee? That's halfway down your leg to the knee, is basically what it is.
That's basically what it is now. 4 inches
Jill,
above
could you
your knee.
stand up
Then leave it that way.
and hold your hands down?
I measured, these would not be allowed.
But if those were allowed, those would be fingertip level, correct?
But everyone's different.
Right,
Everyone's
but,
different.
But if they did go to I don't think anybody's fingertips are above their buttocks,
no, they better not.
right? So if you,
Mine
if,
wouldn't be too far from mine. I would not wear
There
shorts
probably
as
are a
short.
few.
They
Yeah.
are, they cover your whole butt.
I mean, I guess if,
it's more about the coverage than the, because if you cut your leggings off and you made them shorts.
and
they
that's the
were-
thing, they wear those shorts,
Right.
those bike shorts,
Yeah,
like, no. But they're long. They're
long,
not even short.
so.
I mean, some of them are.
But I like your idea that it should be from the top down, yeah. So we just have to find the right words.
I just personally like halfway from the knee to your inseam. Inseam, everybody knows where that is. And
Yeah, but
to-
who's gonna measure it for you? When somebody says, oh, that's out of dress code, you can't pull out your ruler and
No, I
measure
agree, I'm
someone's
not
inseam.
asking you, but you can take a
How about no
visual.
cheeks may be visible?
No cheat
Buttocks must be
campaign.
covered.
Say leave it the same.
Right.
5
Buttocks
inches,
must be
whatever.
covered. That's a word, right?
That's a
The
reasonable
buttocks
word.
must be covered
So if we
in their
added,
entirety.
so if we added to the shorts must be no shorter than 4 inches above the knee.
No, we don't want
Or-
inches. We don't want inches in there,
Okay,
do
so
we?
here's the problem is if we substantially change what we have, that we have to re-advertise and do it again. So all we're doing is we're adding clarifying language to what we have, which is why I'm trying to add an or to it.
So,
So it's just, it can either be that or it can be this. That's why I'm trying to go to the
so
or.
they must be no shorter than 4 inches above the knee and must cover the buttocks.
Or,
Or
Or, okay, okay.
cover the buttocks.
And what,
Entire.
the entire
The
buttocks?
entire
yeah.
buttocks. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yes, it does.
What about, I think we need to address the cleavage a little bit more too. I mean, that's gonna, we probably should address that.
Displays or exposes cleavage?
Do we have that in here?
Yeah, it's already in there. Clothing that
that's what I was
displays
looking
or
for.
exposes cleavage is not allowed, number
Okay,
one.
okay.
Clothing that exposes the torso is not allowed.
Okay, go ahead and read what we have now for those two.
So number one would say, clothing that exposes the torso is not allowed, clothing that displays exposes cleavage is not allowed. The following examples include but are not limited to what is considered unacceptable: tube tops, tank tops, spaghetti straps and halters, bareback or midriff clothing, skin-tight clothing, see-through clothing, bathing suits, except with permission for specified events. Leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending to a minimum of the hip bone. That would be number one. Number two would say skirts, skirts, and dresses must be no shorter than 2 inches above the top of the knee. Shorts must be no shorter than 4 inches above the knee or cover the entire buttocks.
Okay.
Okay.
How does everybody feel about that?
Is there clarification on the holes below the knees? Did I hear? We had
Oh,
some
yeah.
discussion on that, but I want to make sure that we get that clarified.
Ripped
for some-
jeans.
Oh, hold on, wait, let me find that one.
It's another one that's just,
I'm gonna go home and rip my jeans.
You can buy yourself some just like that, Mike. I'm sure it's hard to find them now without rips.
For someone my age.
Yeah.
so, under pants, jeans, slacks, and shorts,
Number 9.
pants must be secured at the hip, must not be baggy or oversized, and the hem of the pant leg must not drag on the ground. Is there another place that it says something about the jeans?
It's number 8. Clothing which is not worn appropriately or not fastened or has tears or holes will not be permitted.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about the holes.
But this is what it says now on number 8.
Okay,
So
so,
it says tears or holes will not be permitted. So we could say tears or holes above the knee?
yes,
Well, and I think there was some issue, like a lot of kids, they would have like a tear in their jean, but it wasn't exposing any skin. There was fabric underneath it.
right.
So I think any tears or holes that expose your skin above the knee is not appropriate.
Okay,
Anything below
Is
is fine,
okay.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so then number 8 would say, and remember, we're just clarifying, we're not rewriting. Clothing which is not worn appropriately, is not fastened properly, or has tears or holes exposing skin above the knee will not be permitted.
That's perfect.
Okay. Okay. looking for a motion now, or you have anything else?
Is there anything else in the code of conduct that you all would like to talk about?
Just for clarification, we can wear long ripped jeans with tears at the knee?
At the knee,
Or
nothing
below.
above that shows your skin.
Okay.
So if the hole is above your knee and there's material under it, that is not an infraction.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Was there anything else in the code of conduct outside of the dress code and the consent forms and the language regarding? Okay, so, Ms. Roberts, do you want to attempt that motion?
Sure. I move we approve the first read of the 2023-24 Code of Student Conduct and approve the advertising with 3 clarifications. On page 46 and page 47, number 1, at the end, add, leggings and skinny jeans are permitted when paired with a looser top extending to a minimum of the hip bone. Number 2, adding at the end, or cover the entire buttocks. And number 8, inserting after tears and holes, the words exposing skin above the knee, before it says will not be permitted.
I second the motion.
Did you want to incorporate, is this gonna, the forms,
So the
we
forms are
decide is
not-
this going to be?
The forms are not part of the code of conduct for
Okay,
that.
so we decided we did not need to approve it because it's, I guess it was only if someone asked for the paper copy. Okay,
Right?
yes.
Lee and Amy.
So I have a motion by Ms. Roberts, a second by Ms. Pritchett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And then just for clarification, we had 2 changes under the consent forms. One in the option 2, where you're adding the photo media and the yearbook language. And then under annual programs, under Speak Life, you're adding grade levels 6 through 12.
And then we're also approving the advertising as well.
The advertising for the form,
No, this is to approve advertising, right?
not for the form. I already did, when I
For
did the one
yeah,
for the
I
code
just
of
wanted to
conduct, I did
make it
both.
clear, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Is there any comments from the board?
I have 2.
Okay.
I received a letter today, an email, and I don't know if anyone else did. I'm assuming that you did, from the Florida School Board Association, asking for us to support the Individual with Disability Education Act that has been co-sponsored by Lois Frankel and Jared Moskowitz, which will provide full federal funding instead of, I believe now it's at 40%. And they're asking for us to approve this and reach out to our local officials to say that we approve it. And I didn't want to do it without the board's say-so, to find consensus. Did you want?
Yeah, because I haven't read it, so I
Okay.
don't know anything about it.
Did you get it? Did
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
get
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
It came this morning, and I think if we can get the information for the template, the percentage of our students that have special needs, but I'm thinking that because it's not an advertised thing, we need to each do it individually. So, I mean, I think that's,
Is that what it sounded to me, and this is where I got confused, because I'm the advocate for legislative, I didn't know if this was a task for me, or we do it individually, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, we
because
would-
I don't know what the procedure is.
Well, typically, we would bring, you may be tasked with writing the letter and bringing it forward for the whole board to approve.
Okay.
But I don't know what the time
It's
is.
August 14th is when they
So
want
we
the
won't-
approval by.
So
and
then
that-
it would need to be that, what do we have before? We have a workshop on the 1st
It's canceled.
and a trim meeting.
Trim meeting.
Wasn't it canceled?
We have the
I thought I saw it in my calendar, it was just canceled. Oh, maybe it was just the one.
So we have a
No.
trim meeting on August 1st, so we could bring it at the trim
And we
meeting.
have a
and that's it.
workshop that day too.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we can't do action at the workshop.
I know,
We can
but I'm
action
just
at-
saying, we have already meetings
Yeah.
times.
Can I ask Wilma and/or Lisa to provide us with the information that we'll need so we can have the discussion on August 1st?
So my suggestion is that you work with them to
Okay.
formulate the letter.
I will.
And then it can get printed on letterhead, it can come to the meeting, and we
Okay.
can all approve it and sign it right then.
All right, I'll make that connection. Thank you. And then one more, and this is just discussion. I've had numerous parents reach out to me who want to go to Jensen Beach High School, and they're being told, you can go to Martin County High, or you can go to South Fork. But we only approved 100 at Jensen Beach, and they've reached that 100. My understanding is Martin County and South Fork are also at capacity, so I'm not sure why, and maybe Superintendent Maine can give us some background?
Yes, I can provide some clarification. So currently, you are correct. We have reached the 100. There are currently 50 on the waiting list for Jensen Beach High School. Martin County High School is signature programs only, and South Fork High School, we were able to accommodate. There is no waiting list. So Jensen Beach High School is the issue as of right now. My recommendation to the board would be that you allow us to take those 50. In conversations with Lori Vogel, she would like the additional students, and I would recommend that it be in any grade level, that we not cap which specific grade level they're from, because they're varying. But taking in an additional 50 students would be great for the district, and Lori Vogel is open to those students.
Well, I think that would be, again, something we'll need to come back to the board on August 1st, and I'm fine if you have that information and agenda item, and an agenda item for that meeting is good. And you can kind of let parents know they're on that wait list, that we will be talking about it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
I have nothing, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Have anything either.
Ms. Roberts?
Oh, no.
One thing that will be coming to you all soon, I was asked to be on there's a work group that was formed, a statewide work group, part of, I think I mentioned it during our legislative.
React.
No, the reactor is the best standards. This is a separate work group. It is, people across the state at different levels. It's homeschool students, charter schools, K-12. There's Senator Simon, Representative Mazzullo, to rewrite the education code. The first phase is looking at statute only, and I'll get the information to Jen. I just got the link. So there is a template that, as you're looking through statute, and we're gonna send it out to parents and all of our teachers and educators and board members to get feedback on things that you think should be changed in the statutes first, and then administrative code will come after that. But it's a very, very quick timeline. I think this has to go to the state board, I want to say in November, because it's got to go through the legislative session as well. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. So I'll be getting that template out to you guys. So I know FSBA has been responding. They have received some responses from some superintendents, and we can decide how we want to do it. If we want to have a workshop and discuss it and submit them as a district, we can do that. You can also submit them individually, items, statutes. I know a lot of it, we had a lot of information surrounding like professional development for teachers and the requirements for like reading endorsement, and how this, you take all these hours and then they don't count towards this, or they trying to eliminate all of the additional hours and the amount of work that a teacher has to do in the first 5 years, which essentially equates to getting a whole nother degree, the number of hours that they have to put in. So that's one of the things I would like to look at. But so just be on the lookout for that and be prepared. Start looking at that big book that we have and any changes that you think need to be made in any area. It could be special education, it could be transportation. There's so many issues that need to be looked at. So it's a pretty comprehensive process, but very quick turnaround.
Okay, so you want our feedback.
Yeah, and I guess we need to decide how we want to do it. I can talk to Superintendent Maine, and we can bring something back in August, talk about how we want to go about it as a board, if we want to do it as a board, or if we'd rather do it individually, and then allow the superintendent to submit on behalf of administrators. So totally up. So we'll bring that back to our workshop.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Good. All right. All right, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.